The Azoyan Empire's armada loomed over the planet of Neo-Montana, resembling a swarm of mechanical locusts. Their sleek, dark hulls obscured the sun as they descended through the atmosphere. To the Azoyan commander, General Karras, this was nothing more than another typical mission. The humans were noisy, defiant, and hopelessly antiquated, ideal subjects for the Empire's usual method of domination. Karras reclined in his command chair, his mandibles clicking as he examined scans of the colony's defenses, railguns, ballistic weapons, and rudimentary fortifications. They still rely on projectiles, he sneered, his voice buzzing with contempt. The bridge crew chuckled in agreement. Karras raised a claw. Proceed with the operation. Show these primitives the might of the Empire. On the planet's surface, Captain Alexander Stone gazed at the sky, his jaw tightening as the first Azoyan dropships pierced the clouds. He stood atop a rocky ridge, overlooking Neo-Montana's main settlement, an assortment of reinforced buildings nestled within a valley below. Stone was a broad-shouldered man with a weathered face, his graying hair a testament to decades of combat experience. He adjusted the strap on his assault rifle and glanced at Sergeant Richard Martinez, who was crouched nearby, expertly assembling a tripwire explosive. "They're coming in heavy," Stone said, his voice calm despite the rising tension. "You ready for this?" Martinez grinned, his scarred hands moving with precision. "Born ready, Cap. Let's give these bugs a greeting they won't forget." Behind them, Corporal Mark Wallace crouched on a high ledge, peering through the scope of his sniper rifle. The youngest of the group, Wallace was eager and sharp, though sometimes his inexperience showed in his nervous chatter. "Think they'll land in the open?" he asked, his voice crackling through the comms. "Seems too easy." Stone's expression hardened. "They think we're easy. That's their mistake." The first wave of Azoyan dropships landed in a nearby field. Their massive landing struts sank into the soil as alien soldiers poured out in organized ranks, their insectoid forms gleaming under the pale sun. Armed with plasma rifles and protected by energy shields, they advanced on the colony with mechanical precision. From his vantage point, Stone observed the movement through binoculars. Martinez lit up a second later, and the ground erupted with explosions as hidden charges detonated beneath the advancing Azoyan troops. Alien bodies were hurled into the air as their shields faltered against the raw kinetic power of the blasts. Amid the chaos, Stone and his team opened fire, their bullets finding weak points in the alien armor with surgical accuracy. Wallace's rifle cracked, and an Azoyan officer crumpled to the ground, a clean hole punched through its head. "One down," he muttered, already lining up his next shot. But the Azoyan response was swift and brutal. Their soldiers reorganized with terrifying efficiency, deploying aerial drones that rained plasma fire on the human positions. The ridge where Stone and Martinez were stationed became a storm of heat and light, forcing them to retreat. "Fall back to the second line," Stone shouted, his voice cutting through the clamor of battle. The team regrouped in a narrow canyon leading to the colony, using the rocky walls for cover. Here, Dr. Simon Graves waited for them, his lean frame hunched over a makeshift workstation. A civilian engineer by trade, Graves had volunteered to aid the resistance after witnessing the devastation caused by the Azoyan invasion. His specialty was improvisation, and his table was cluttered with jury-rigged devices, including modified drones and repurposed mining explosives. "They're pushing hard," Graves said, wiping sweat from his brow as Stone approached. "I hope you've got a plan." Stone knelt beside him, quickly scanning the map spread out on the table. "We're buying time, Simon. If we can thin their ranks and lure them into the colony, we'll have the advantage." Graves didn't seem convinced. "Their tech's a century ahead of ours. How do you plan to counter that?" With creativity, Stone replied with a grim smile. "They're predictable. We're not." The sound of approaching drones cut the conversation short. Wallace's voice came over the comms, tense but controlled. "Captain, we've got incoming. They're flanking from the west." "Damn it," Stone muttered. "Martinez, take your team and slow them down. Graves, get those drones operational. We'll need every advantage we can get." As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Azoyan forces were unprepared for the humans' unorthodox tactics. Martinez's team used hit-and-run maneuvers to harass the flanking units, planting explosives and retreating before the aliens could retaliate. Graves' modified drones proved effective as well, disrupting Azoyan communications and drawing fire away from the humans' positions. But the cost was steep. By nightfall, the colony's defenders were exhausted, their numbers dwindling. Stone gathered his team in a sheltered cavern to reassess their strategy. "They're underestimating us," he said, his voice resolute. "They think our tech's a joke, but we've shown them we can hurt them. Now, we need to make it count." Martinez leaned against the wall, wiping dirt from his face. "You're thinking big, aren't you?" Stone nodded. "We can win this by playing defense. We need to hit them where it hurts." Graves frowned. "And how do we do that with what little we have?" A glint of determination flashed in Stone's eyes. "We use what they use. If they think our old tech is a joke, we'll make them laugh all the way to hell." The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. Outside, the distant hum of Azoyan ships filled the air, a constant reminder of the enemy's overwhelming presence. But in that moment, the team felt something they hadn't in days: hope. "Get some rest," Stone said, standing with his silhouette framed by the faint glow of the cavern entrance. "Tomorrow, we show them what humans are made of." As the team dispersed, Wallace lingered by the entrance, rifle slung over his shoulder. He gazed out at the night sky where the Azoyan ships hovered like malevolent stars. For the first time, he felt the weight of the fight ahead, but also the fire of determination burning in his chest. "They don't know what they started," he muttered, a small smile creeping across his face. Above, the Azoyan fleet remained motionless, unaware of the storm brewing below. As dawn broke over Neo-Montana, the sun cast long shadows across the rugged terrain. Stone leaned against a boulder, sipping the last of his lukewarm coffee. Around him, the team moved with quiet purpose, their exhaustion hidden beneath their determination. The sounds of hurried preparations echoed through the canyon, metal clinking, the hum of improvised machines, the occasional murmur of conversation. Every man here understood what was at stake. Stone's eyes shifted to the makeshift workbench, where Dr. Simon Graves crouched, surrounded by tools and scraps of salvaged alien tech. Graves' normally tidy appearance had given way to disheveled chaos, his face streaked with grease, illuminated by the flickering glow of a jury-rigged plasma core. "We're running out of time, Simon," Stone said, his voice steady but firm. Graves didn't look up. "You can't rush innovation, Alex. This isn't just duct tape and wishful thinking. It's engineering under fire." Stone stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I'm not asking for a miracle, just a fighting chance. Can you deliver that?" Graves finally glanced up, meeting Stone's gaze. "If they don't fry me first, yeah. But it's not just the tech, we'll need every ounce of creativity we've got." Nearby, Sergeant Martinez tested one of their new mortars, adjusting the angle of the barrel and loading a shell with practiced precision. The weapon was a crude mix of old Earth designs and Azoyan alloys, but it had the potential to bypass the enemy's energy shields. Martinez grinned as he hefted another shell, its jagged edges glinting in the morning light. "You know," he called out to Stone, "if this works, I'm naming the first one after you. Something classy, like Stone's Fury." Stone chuckled, the tension in his shoulders easing for a moment. "Just make sure it hits the target. We're not winning this on style points." Corporal Wallace, perched on a nearby ridge, scanned the horizon through his rifle's scope. "They're moving," he reported, his voice calm despite the impending threat. "Looks like a full column heading straight for us, armor, infantry, drones. The works." The mood shifted instantly, the weight of the situation settling over the group. Stone nodded, his mind already racing. "This is it," he said. "We hit them hard, make them bleed, and force them to rethink their strategy." Martinez cracked his knuckles. "About time we gave them something to rethink." The team sprang into action, deploying the mortars along the canyon's natural choke points. Each weapon was manned by a pair of soldiers, their movements quick and efficient despite the looming danger. Graves worked alongside them, fine-tuning the guidance systems and recalibrating the drones they'd repurposed to act as spotters. "This better work," Graves muttered as he tightened a bolt. "If those shields hold, we're toast." "They won't hold," Stone replied, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "They're designed for plasma, not this. Trust the plan." The Azoyan forces entered the canyon like an unstoppable wave, their insectoid troops marching in perfect formation. Heavy walkers flanked the infantry, their multi-legged frames bristling with plasma cannons. Overhead, drones buzzed in tight formations, scanning for hidden threats. The first mortar fired, its deep thud reverberating through the canyon. The shell arced through the air before slamming into the lead walker, detonating on impact. The explosion was catastrophic, sending fragments of alien metal and shattered rock flying in all directions. A stunned silence fell over the Azoyan ranks, broken only by the hiss of damaged machinery. Then, chaos erupted. "Reload and fire!" Stone barked, his voice cutting through the din. The mortars roared to life, each shell finding its mark with devastating precision. The humans had anticipated the Azoyan response, using their drones to guide the projectiles toward weak points in the alien armor. The Azoyan's energy shields flickered and failed, unable to withstand the relentless barrage of kinetic force. Martinez let out a triumphant laugh as another walker collapsed in a fiery heap. "Told you they wouldn't know what hit him." The Azoyan troops scrambled to regroup, their disciplined formation falling apart under the relentless assault. Plasma fire rained down on the human positions, but the defenders were prepared, using the canyon's jagged terrain to shield themselves from the worst of it. From his elevated position, Wallace took precise shots at the advancing infantry, each round finding a target. "They're falling apart," he reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. Graves worked feverishly to keep the mortars operational, his hands a blur as he replaced damaged components and recalibrated targeting systems. Sweat dripped down his face, but he didn't falter. "Another drone's down," he shouted, glancing at Stone. "We're running out of eyes in the sky." Stone clenched his fists. "We don't need eyes to finish this. Keep firing until they're out of range or out of troops." The battle raged for what felt like hours. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the Azoyan forces began to retreat, their once formidable column reduced to smoldering wreckage and scattered survivors. The humans didn't cheer, there was no celebration, only the grim satisfaction of survival. Stone surveyed the battlefield, his face etched with exhaustion. "Status report," he called out. Martinez leaned against a boulder, his breathing heavy. "Mortars are holding up, but we're low on ammo. Drones are toast. We hit them hard, but they'll be back." Graves sank to the ground, wiping his hands on his shirt. "They underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again." Stone nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the Azoyan ships still hung like ominous shadows. "Let them come. We'll be ready." Wallace climbed down from his perch, rifle slung over his shoulder. "What's the next move, Captain?" Stone's expression hardened. "We adapt. We hit them where it hurts, and we make sure they never forget who they're fighting." The team exchanged weary but determined glances. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Together, they began the difficult task of preparing for the next confrontation. Their resolve was unshaken. Above, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if bearing witness to humanity's defiance. The night sky over Neo-Montana was alive with the glow of burning wreckage. Smoke hung thick in the air, mingling with the faint metallic tang of spent ammunition and scorched earth. Stone crouched on a rocky ledge, binoculars pressed to his eyes as he scanned the battlefield below. The Azoyan forces had regrouped, their ranks swelling with reinforcements that had landed just beyond the canyon's edge. "They're not pulling out this time," Stone muttered. Martinez crouched beside him, inspecting the last of the mortar rounds. "They're mad. We embarrassed them, Cap. They're coming to wipe us out." Stone nodded grimly. "Good. Let him. Make sure they don't leave with anything to brag about. Wallace's voice crackled over the comms. Captain, they're moving into the canyon. Looks like a full assault, infantry, walkers, and air support. Stone didn't flinch. He glanced at Martinez. Get the men into position. No mistakes. This is our last stand. Martinez saluted sharply and disappeared into the shadows, barking orders as he went. Stone remained on the ledge, his mind working through the strategy one last time. Their traps were set, their positions fortified, but he knew they were stretched to the breaking point. Victory would depend on precision, creativity, and the stubborn defiance that had carried humanity this far. Graves was hunched over his workstation in the central bunker, his hands flying as he fine-tuned the last of the improvised drones. I hope you've got a miracle up your sleeve, Alex, he said without looking up. Stone's voice was calm but firm. No miracles, Simon. Just men doing what we've always done, fighting smarter than the other guy. Graves glanced up, meeting Stone's gaze. There was exhaustion in his eyes, but also a spark of resolve. Then let's make history. The Azoyan forces advanced into the canyon like a living wave, their glowing weapons casting an eerie light over the rugged terrain. Drones hovered overhead, scanning for human positions, while the massive walkers lumbered forward, their plasma cannons firing sporadically to clear a path. Stone waited until the bulk of their forces were deep within the canyon before giving the order. All units, fire at will. The night erupted in chaos as the humans unleashed their trap. Mortars roared to life, their shells arcing overhead and slamming into the enemy ranks with devastating precision. The explosions echoed off the canyon walls, amplifying the destruction. Walker after walker crumpled under the onslaught, their advanced shields no match for the sheer force of the kinetic bombardment. Martinez was in his element, directing the fire teams with calm efficiency. Focus on the big ones first. Make him feel it. Wallace picked off drone after drone, his sniper rifle flashing in the darkness. They're scattering, Captain. Looks like they're trying to regroup at the canyon's mouth. Stone's voice cut through the chaos. Not a chance. Martinez collapsed the north wall with a series of detonations, rocking the canyon. Tons of rock crashed down, blocking the Azoyan retreat. Trapped and disoriented, the alien forces began to falter. Graves' modified drones buzzed through the chaos, delivering targeted strikes that disrupted enemy communications and disabled their remaining heavy weapons. One drone swooped low, dropping a makeshift explosive onto a cluster of Azoyan troops, scattering them like leaves in the wind. We're holding! Graves shouted, his voice tinged with disbelief. But Azoyan General Karras was not so easily defeated. From his command ship above, he barked orders to his remaining forces, deploying reinforcements equipped with heavy plasma cannons and shield disruptors. The air thickened with energy as the new wave descended on the battlefield. Stone gritted his teeth as he watched the tide turn. They're doubling down. We've got to end this now. Martinez's voice crackled over the comms. What's the plan, Cap? Stone glanced at Graves. Can you rig the drones for one final run? Everything we've got. Graves hesitated, then nodded. I'll need a minute. You've got 30 seconds, Stone replied, his voice firm. As Graves worked, Stone relayed the plan to the team. We're going to punch a hole straight through them. Martinez, cover the drones. Wallace, take out their command units. This ends here. The drones launched in a synchronized swarm, weeding through the enemy ranks like a school of fish. Graves had rigged each one with an explosive payload, sacrificing their guidance systems for maximum firepower. Martinez and his team provided cover, their mortars laying down a relentless barrage that kept the Azoyan forces pinned. Wallace's sniper rifle rang out, each shot silencing a critical target. The drones reached their mark, slamming into the Azoyan formation in a series of thunderous explosions. The resulting shockwave rippled through the canyon, toppling walkers and sending alien soldiers scrambling for cover. Stone seized the moment. Push forward. Take them down. The humans surged from their positions, rifles blazing. They moved with precision and purpose, cutting through the disorganized Azoyan troops like a scalpel. Stone led the charge, his battle rifle spitting fire as he carved a path toward the enemy's command unit. General Karras watched from his command ship, his mandibles clicking in frustration. He had underestimated these humans, dismissed them as primitives. Now his forces were being routed by their ingenuity and determination. "Pull back!" Karras ordered bitterly. "This fight is lost." As the Azoyan ships lifted off, abandoning their troops to their fate, a cheer rose from the human ranks. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of alien machines and the bodies of fallen soldiers, but Neo Montana still stood. Stone surveyed the scene, his chest heaving as he lowered his rifle. The cost had been high, but they had won. Graves approached, his face streaked with dirt and exhaustion. "We did it," he said, a note of disbelief in his voice. Stone nodded. "We showed them what humanity is made of. Now let's make sure they never forget." Above them, the stars shone brightly, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to bow.